Hello. So this video is about introduction to homework 5, which is based on multithreading. So problem statement is very simple. So there is a building which has X number of floors, and there are Y number of passengers at a different floors within the building, and they want to go to their respective destination. So we have Z number of elevators in the building, so passengers can use this elevator to go to their respective destination. But there are some rules, like there's a limit on how many number of passengers that elevator can carry at any given time, right? And there's another rule saying uh, if passenger wants to get in the elevator, that elevator obviously should be on that floor where passenger is. Elevator door should be open, and elevator capacity should not be full. Then only passenger can enter into the elevator. Now, while getting out of the elevator, elevator should be on the floor on which passenger wants to, get out, and then an elevator door should be open. Then only passenger can get out of the elevator, right? So let's get started. All right, let me share my screen. Yep, there we go. Yeah, so let me, I must have seven, five. Yeah, there we go. Okay, file. Yeah, so let's start with elevator.h. Okay, so in elevator.h, you can find what is the maximum capacity that we have set for the elevator. How many number of elevators are there? How many number of floors are there in the building? And how many number of passengers are there? Okay. So let us see how these are interconnected. Let's actually try to trace the call flow a little bit. So how do we trace the call flow? We will start with main anytime, right? So we'll come to main.c. Let's look out for the main function directly. So for this homework, we are also creating sort of a terminal-based graphical interface so that it is easy to visualize, right? So you can totally ignore that part. You focus on, writing the logic only. So that you will be doing in homework 5.c file. Okay. So let us start, from this point, right? So for every passenger and for every elevator, we are creating the separate thread, right? That's what we are doing over here. So we are creating this array passenger T with passenger number of size, right? And then we are creating this. And then this passenger thread will call which function? Start passenger function. Similarly, for the elevator, we are so we're creating thread for the each and every elevator, and it will call what? Start elevator function, right? So let's do one thing. Let's go to the start passenger function, right? There we go. Okay. So what are we doing over here? So we are randomly generating on which floor the passenger is. Then we are filling up the structure, right? So there is a structure in this main.c. Let me quickly try to pull it up. Oh, shit. It should be. Yep. So here we have a structure. So passenger ID. He's on which floor? Where does he want to go? Is he inside the elevator and elevator number? And at this moment, where is he? So his current status also, whether he's waiting for the elevator, whether he has entered the elevator, or whether he has come out of the elevator. That means it's done actually, right? So note that, right? Like very important. The structure is static, so you cannot use it in another file. If you want to use it, you have to create your own structure over there. Okay. then only you can use it. You definitely need to do this, right? So when you will be writing homework 5.c, you need to have your own passenger structure and elevator structure in that file, so that it is convenient for you to manipulate the structure based on current status, right? So yeah, let's go back to our start passenger, I believe. Yeah. All right. So we are filling up the structure, right? So yeah, like take a look like a passenger ID and from which floor. Uh, yeah, and then there should be two floor also somewhere. From this floor, and currently, obviously, like at this and in the beginning, he will be on the same floor where as his starting point, right? So at any given point, passenger is at this floor. Originally, passenger from this floor, and yeah, over here. So this is a loop, right? So essentially, this program is designed to carry multiple trip from the passenger. For example, if passenger is at floor number 0, he goes to floor number 2. Then if he wants, he can also go to floor number wherever he wants, so on and so forth. But we have set the trip to just one for this homework. Okay. So, but this like the template is capable of having multiple trips for the passenger. That is it. Yeah. So over here you also have the stop. This is like a what do you say, a kill switch, right? So when our task is done, when all the passengers have reached to their desired destination, then the stop will be set, and then all the threads will be sort of killed in a way. Like the so if stop is true, it will come out, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah. So what are we doing inside? So randomly generating the desired floor, right? And we are calling this function passenger request, right? And uh, you will be modifying this function, okay? So, but not in the log sync file. So this function is actually defined in this log sync file, okay? But what you will do is you will make a copy of log sync file, right? Logsync.c, and you will name it homework5.c, okay? And then you will start modifying the functions over there, okay? Yeah. So what are we passing to this function? The passenger ID, where he is, right? And where does he want to go? And in addition to that, we are also passing two functions, passenger enter and passenger exit to it, okay? And when everything is done, when he has reached the floor, the passenger thread will end. Okay. So now let's go. I mean, we will go into the passenger request, but a little bit later. First of all, let us take a look at the start elevator, which is spawned by the elevator thread, obviously. Yeah, one more. Yeah, pretty straightforward, right? So elevator has its own ID, and it's so initially obviously it is at floor 0, okay, but there's like this simple value because unlike passenger, elevator will be used multiple times by different passengers, right? So elevators will only stop, elevator thread will only end when our objective is complete. That means when the kill switch is pulled, then only elevator thread will end, right? And inside it is actually calling this elevator ready function, which is also there in the log sync file. So we are saying elevator is at which floor, it is moving in which direction. So plus minus. So I believe we have set 1 to go up and -1 to go down. Okay. And then we are also passing two functions over here, elevator open door and elevator closed door. These are like a function pointer so that we can call them in the in this elevator ready function, right? So let's go and take a look at that. Okay. All right. So what are we doing over here? So what do we have? We have this log, just one log. So we know there are passenger number of threads for the passengers. There are elevator number of threads for the elevator, but over here we have a common log for all the passengers and a common log for all the elevators, right? So this is the template, right? So many things are, this is just to give you the feel of it, like how you want to proceed, right? So you obviously, if you want to use all the passengers and all the elevators at the same time, you need to have more number of logs for the passenger as well as the elevator, right? Then only this will work out. Otherwise, what will happen? Um, Only one activity will happen at the same time. So essentially, your program is sort of sequentialized, right? You don't want that. So in this basic version, your program runs on a single thread. Only one thing will happen at a time. So that's why we have only these two logs, like one log for the passenger, one log for the elevator. Okay. And yeah, so essentially initially the elevator floor is 0, and that's why it will go up. So what the elevator direction is 1, right? So this is the schedule init in which we are initializing all of our logs. Okay, so let's take a look at where schedule init is. It is in the main.c, I think. Should be somewhere here. Yep. So we are initializing all of our logs. Okay, now coming back. See, I told you before also, right? You need to maintain a structure for the elevator as well as passenger over here. You need to define that structure and use it over here, right? So once you do that, right? So what then you will initialize all the members of that structure. So it is going to be the structure array. Okay. So the array of passenger structure, array of elevator structure. And then within that structure, there will be multiple members, right? So you will initialize them over here in the schedule init. In addition to that, you will have an array of passenger logs, right? Or array of elevator logs. So you will also initialize them over here. Okay. Now, obviously, you will also need a conditional variable, but let's put it in the end. Okay. So essentially, you will also need array of conditional variable, but I will talk about it in the end. Okay. So let's take a look what is happening in the passenger request function. Okay. The thread enters into the passenger request. It takes a log for that passenger. In this case, a common log, so only one passenger at a time, right? But let's go with this flow right now. So we take a common passenger log, and then there's this while loop, right? While one infinite amount of time, it will iterate unless we break it. So when are we breaking it? So we are only breaking it when elevator, right? So the elevator floor is same as our floor. I mean, the floor on which the passenger is, right? So we are getting this from floor in the function as an argument, and elevator floor over here is like it's like a global variable, right? And it will be modified in the elevator ready function down below. Okay, but before checking, see, elevator floor is what? Global common resource. So whenever you access the common resource, what do? We take a lock, right? So that's why we are taking the elevator lock over here. If somebody has already taken the lock, we cannot go forward. We have to wait till we acquire the lock. Then only we can move on. All right. So if let us say the passenger is on floor number 5 and elevator is on floor number 3, then what will happen? Obviously, we will take a look, we will check, and we come to know, okay, elevator is not yet at my floor, the passenger floor. Then I will not go inside this condition. I will simply release the elevator lock, allowing elevator ready function to acquire the lock and like move the elevator up one level, right? Even in case of elevator ready function, it also requires elevator lock, right? So that it can move forward. All right. And what will happen then? So this is a while loop. It will keep on going. So again, it will wait for again it will wait to acquire the elevator log, right? And then again in the next time our elevator will be on number 4, the same thing will happen. So again, like in the last iteration, so my elevator is number 5, right? So this condition matches, and then the passenger will be able to enter into the elevator. See this enter function, right? That's what is being passed over here. Okay, so I just fixed it. Okay, so this enter function, right? So elevator is so the passenger will enter into the elevator, right? So and then similarly, while now elevator is traveling, right? And then what will happen? Now, from the passenger perspective, see, we will do this run one more time back and forth between elevator ready and passenger request, but let me first of all explain it one by one. Okay, so now passenger has got into the elevator is moving, and passenger now wants to get out of the elevator when his floor comes. So we will kind of use the same logic, right? So if elevator floor is equal to 2 floor, which we got from over here where the passenger desires to go, right? So when this matches, then passenger will exit out of the elevator, right? And see, take a look, right? We are taking the lock, elevator lock. We are breaking from over here, but before breaking, we should obviously release the lock, right? If you break without releasing the lock, what is going to happen? Some deadlock will happen. It also wants to acquire the lock, but it is acquired by someone else, and so on and so forth, right? So once one passenger has reached to his desired floor, then his lock will be released, right? Like take a look at like this. Line number 19, we are acquiring the passenger lock. Once he has reached to his desired location, line number 39, we are releasing the passenger lock. So other passenger can come and do this procedure. So when you will have multiple of these locks, all of them will start working in parallel, right? Okay. Now let us see what happens in the elevator ready function. So what do we get? Like the elevator ID, and currently it is at which floor, right? And in which direction it is supposed to move, right? Like this is actually the function move direction. I think, yeah, we have used it right over here. So it will move the elevator up or down, right? And then we have to decide the direction within this function, right? So that is actually done in the beginning, but yeah, put you up. Yeah, so we have like a door open function and door close function also along with it. So see, for this template code, we are using only one elevator. Okay, so ideally, like I think we have what, 4 elevators or something. Yeah, so we have 4 elevators, but we are for this template, within this template, we are only using one elevator. That is elevator whose ID is number 0. For your solution, obviously you will be using all the elevators at the same time, right? Yeah, that's the reason we have only one elevator log. When you will start using all the elevators, you'll require multiple elevators. Okay, see, what is the first condition? So if my elevator is at floors -1, that means my top floor, right? So if my elevator is at the top floor, I should go down, right? So that's why -1. And if my elevator is at the ground floor, I should go up. That means direction 1. Otherwise, the direction is not changing. So throughout the iteration, see, remember we had that while loop, right? So there was the start elevator function, and we had the while loop over there. So our elevator direction will not change. Okay, it will still remain the same. It's a global variable, right? Okay. Yeah. So on every floor, okay, on every floor we are opening the door and we are closing the door and giving opportunity for passenger to get in or get out. This is a sample code, remember, okay? So this will not happen in your solution. In your solution, door should ideally open wherever passenger is. It should not waste its time opening at the place where there is no passenger, right? Unless the passenger wants to get out on that floor. Okay. You might be surprised. Okay, we have unlocked it over here, but where have we locked it? We have done that in the init function, schedule init function. Okay, here we are taking the elevator lock and come down. Here we are. Once the door is open, we are releasing the lock so that now the passenger can come and acquire the elevator lock, and then it can get inside the elevator, right? Then we are sort of waiting for some time for passenger to get in, and then we are again trying to acquire the elevator lock. Why? Because of course elevator has to move up now or wherever down. Then once we acquire the elevator lock, we are closing the door and we are moving in that direction where the passenger wants to go essentially, right? It could be up or down, whatever. And yeah, so the like if elevator is at floor number 0 and passenger is also on elevator number 0, passenger got into the elevator, now passenger wants to get out on floor number 5, then we are taking one step at a time. So you should not jump, right? So this logic will be same, like elevator will go one floor at a time. So for this iteration, it is going to be what? At floor 0, elevator direction, we want to go up, so +1, right? So new elevator floor will be what? After moving, it will be 2, right? Yeah. Now what we will do is we will actually simulate, mentally simulate, how these two functions will interact with each other. Okay. All right. So let's take a problem statement. There's a passenger who's on floor number 5 and he wants to get on floor number 7. Okay. And yeah, and then initially, let us say elevator is at 0th floor. Okay. And then let us see how it works out. All right. This is a sample code. You will be modifying it, right? Okay. So this is elevator 0. Let us say in our case, elevator is 0 itself. We are at the ground floor, so our direction is +1, right? So I'm at the ground floor initially. So this elevator ready function, the lock is already acquired, right, in the schedule element function, right? So the lock has already been acquired. So at the 0th floor, door will open, okay, and the lock will be released, okay. Now we are waiting. If there is any passenger, he will come in. Now over here in the passenger request, he has already acquired the passenger lock. Once the elevator door is open and the lock is released on the floor number 0, he will be able to acquire the elevator lock. He will check whether the elevator is on his floor. No, right? So he will bypass this condition. He will unlock and again start the while loop. Go to the beginning of the while loop, right? So in the meantime, this elevator ready function will acquire the lock again. It will close the door. It will move in this direction, right? Elevator direction. So that means 1, it will move towards in the upward direction. So my new elevator floor will be floor number 1, right? So this cycle will repeat till floor number 4. So for on floor number 1, my door will open and close. On floor number 2, my door will open and close. Floor number 3, same thing. Floor number 4, same thing. But now interesting thing is my when elevator reaches on floor number 5, right? So in that case, door will open, lock will be released. Yeah, so now this guy is also, continuously acquiring the lock, releasing the lock, acquiring the lock and releasing the lock multiple times. It has actually done it 4 times, right? For floor number 1, 2, 3, 4. But every time this condition was not satisfied. But when the elevator has reached the floor number 5, this condition will get satisfied. So the passenger will be able to enter into the elevator, right? Once it enters, we will release the elevator lock so that now elevator ready function can close the door and move towards the direction, right? And then we will break out this while loop. Okay. So once we break out of this while loop, we are then actually going into the another while loop, which is also infinite, right? So there also we are again trying to acquire the lock, and then now we are checking the condition whether elevator floor is the floor on which we want to get out, right? The passenger wants to get out. So obviously, right now he's on the fifth floor only. So this condition will be bypassed again, and then uh, we will release the lock, and again, this operation will keep on going. Now on the elevator ready function, so elevator ready function, it has acquired the lock on floor number 5. It has closed the door. It has moved to the floor number 6. I have updated the floor. Okay. So, I mean, we have updated the floor. So what is the next thing that is going to happen? Like this cycle will actually repeat, right? So it is on floor number 6 now. So it will again open the door, release the lock. This guy in the passenger request function, he will be able to, he will again acquire the lock. He will check the floor. He wants to get on 7, but elevator is on the 6th floor. So this will be skipped again. And then over here, we'll be releasing the lock, line number 36. And then we'll again acquire the lock, close the elevator door. We'll move elevator one floor up. So that is on floor number 7. And then again, we will be, and then once the elevator reaches on floor number 7, we will again open the elevator door, release the lock. Passenger will now acquire the elevator lock. The floor matches, right? Now the floor, so the elevator is on floor number 7, and passenger also wants to get down on the floor number 7. So he will get out of that floor, right? And then he will release the elevator lock. Okay. And essentially then we are breaking out of this while loop. Okay. And then finally we are releasing the passenger lock also. So that means this passenger thread will actually end. Okay. And yeah, and then once that elevator lock is released, we are acquiring it right over here, closing the door, and we are continuing with the elevator operation, right? Yeah, so the changes that you should do is obviously you need to have multiple locks for the passenger, so you can handle multiple passengers at the same time. You need to have multiple elevator locks also, so that so there is actually a trick, but once you start doing it, you will understand it. Okay, so you will have multiple elevator locks also, so that you can handle all the elevators at the same time. Right now, only one because this is a common elevator lock. Uh, all the elevators cannot run in parallel, right? Because in order for elevator to do any operations like opening or closing the door or moving up, it needs to acquire the lock, right? Okay, so you will make multiple lock. Actually, you don't really need multiple passenger lock, but you definitely need multiple elevator lock. Okay. Then what else? Yes, then you will get those passenger and elevator structure over here. See, you have to check every single time whether the door is open or closed. Okay. It should not happen that passenger is getting inside the elevator when the door is closed. So you should be checking all these conditions. So your structure will obviously have the state maintained. Okay. Um, yeah. What else? I guess, and yes, you will also need a conditional variable. We will soon talk about it. Okay. Now let's do demo. Uh, I believe you haven't have any issue in compiling the code, basic code. So if you have, there will be. I think it will be mainly because of the dependencies. So you need lib and curses, right? And then there are a couple of dependencies. Actually, I will be making a post that I'm, putting this video on the Piazza or maybe somewhere. Over there, I will also write the dependencies that you might require. Okay. But if you have already got those dependencies, then you should be easily able to compile. So if you let us take a look at the makefile, right? So we have two targets, log sync and homework 5, right? So by default, log sync, right? So I have already compiled it. Let me see. So leave it. I'm not gonna do it. Or maybe I can. Log sync is open. Let me remove. And compile. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you need the pthread and the ncurses library. Ncurses is for the graphical interface that we are providing along with the homework, right? Yeah, so let's run it. Mm, log sync, right? So over here, the logs are generated. These are the number of floors. So there are 28 floors, right? So 0 to 27. And what about this number? So this number suggests this passenger is on the 0th floor and he wants to go on floor number 7, right? See, understand one thing. So the game is about acquiring the lock at that point. If it fails to acquire the lock, he won't be able to get inside the elevator. What I'm trying to say is, if he fails to acquire the lock and elevator ready function acquires the lock before him, then obviously that person is not there. He won't be able to enter the elevator, and the elevator will still move up. So if you look at it, this template has like it gives you the opportunity to perform multi-threading, but there are many issues, right? Right now we are only doing the single thread. It is easier to convert it into multi-thread, but you still have to do multiple optimization cycles on it. Okay, now so essentially this is queue, right? Number 7 is in the queue, number 12 in the queue, and so on and so forth. So these are not the IDs, these are the floors on which this passenger decides to go. Okay, let me calculate. It actually takes I think more than 5-10 minutes maybe. Like it takes a lot of time for like all the passengers to reach to the desired floor. So I have my solution ready. um yeah, so how do you compile yours? So you will be generating homework 5.c, you will be creating homework 5.c and writing all of your functionalities over there. So now we will, instead of logsync.c, we will start using homework 5.c, right? So this is how you compile, right? So we have the binary homework 5. See, over there, only one elevator was working at the time, right? So let us see how it goes over here. Let's see, multiple elevators are going, multiple passengers are also going in the elevator till its maximum capacity, which is 3. So yeah, my program ends very early, right? Because I'm doing multi-threading and there is proper synchronization between, right? So having said that, yeah, so now let's talk about conditional variables. I think I have, yeah. In order to save the time, I have already written the simple code. Like, first of all, let us see, why do we need multi conditional variables, right? Because in our homework, there needs to be a coordination between our elevator thread and a passenger thread, right? Because elevator thread should tell the passenger thread, wake up, I am at your desired floor, and then release the log. Then passenger thread will acquire the log so that it will not miss that, as it was happening in our template code. So let's take a look at the example. Things will be much more clear with the example, right? So I have the solution also within this, but I have commented it. So let us understand what is the task. Let's trace the code. So we have common lock. We have two threads. We are spawning them, and their respective functions are T1 and T2. Okay, in the end, we are joining the thread, we're destroying the lock. Let's go to T1. And we also have this global flag with initial value 0. When T1 will start, it will try to acquire the lock. So what we really want to do is, we are first of all spawning thread 1. Okay, and thread 1 should change the thread 1 should change the value to of my global flag to 2. Obviously, global flag is our common resource. It's a global variable, so we are acquiring our lock over here. And once we have done the modification, we are releasing the lock. But what we want is thread 2 that is spawned after thread 1 should first acquire the lock. Okay, and it should change the global variable value from 0 to 1. Then only thread 1, which was spawned before thread 2, will come and acquire the lock and change the value of global variable from now 1 to 2, and then our program should end. Okay, so if I don't really care about these conditions and simply start acquiring the lock and releasing the lock and set the value in between, then I might not get the desired result, right? Like if I compile this program, there is no main. So GCC, GCC, main. I already configured it. Okay, main.c and pre-thread. Okay, so thread 1 starts, and then thread 1 immediately sets the value to 2. So, but that's not what we really want, right? So thread 1 should start initially. My global variable should increment like sequentially, like from 1 to 2, but now it is directly setting it to 2, and then my thread 1 ends. After 1 second, my thread 2 starts. It sets the global flag to now 1, so reverse direction, and then the thread to end. So finally, my global flag ends up being 1, and what we really want it to be 2, right? So let us see how we can do that. See, this conditional variable code is very common, but if you want, I can add it to the PLSA just so that you can play with it. Okay. Now let us modify our code. Obviously, we will be requiring this conditional variable. Okay. Along with log, we will initialize the conditional variable. You have to check out the man pages by yourself. Okay, I'm not going to do it over here for you. Okay, so you are destroying the conditional variable once everything is done before wrapping up. Okay, so let's write a condition over here. What are we saying? This loop will run as long as my global flag is less than equals to 0. Okay, inside we are waiting on some condition, right? So what is going to happen over here? We have acquire the log. It will come inside because global variable value is right now 0, right? Because thread 1 started before. And then if it comes inside, if this is getting executed, then we are going to release the lock. Okay, we are going to release the lock, and we are now waiting on this conditional variable. It needs to get signal from somewhere so that we can continue our operation. Okay, so we are now waiting at this point. After 1 second, thread 2 starts. It will, so this guy has released the lock, so this guy thread 2 can acquire the lock, and it will try to set this global flag to 1. Obviously, it will be able to, right? Because it has acquired a lock. And then once it is done, it will release the lock and it will send a signal, right, on the same conditional variable. So now this guy will wake up. Okay, what it will do, it will again acquire the lock, the same lock. Okay, and then it will check the while condition again, whether the condition still holds or not. But now global flag has changed to 1. So we will come out of this while loop holding the lock. Okay, we'll set the global flag to 2. We will release the lock, and that's how the thread 1 will end, right? So with this modification, let us compile it one more time and execute it. The thread 1 starts. Now, see the difference. Check the difference between the output, right? Now, thread 2 starts after 1 second. First of all, thread 2 will set the value to 1. Then thread 2 will end. So thread 2's work is only up to these 3 stages, right? And then thread 1 will set the flag value to 2, and then thread 1 will end. The final value of the flag is 2, right? That's our desired result. Okay. Yeah, one more thing I want to show you actually is I have already enabled the autograder. Autograder is ready, so you can push a solution, and so there will be a leaderboard. So you guys will be competing among yourself actually. So whose program is running fastest? Okay. So let me actually share my screen, like the entire screen with a great score. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, over here. Yep. Oh, there is some student. That is me. Haha. So I have submitted my solution, and let me take a look at the leaderboard. Yes. So yes. So I was able to finish it within sort of 7 seconds and 300 milliseconds. And see, you can actually just copy the logsync.c, rename it to homework5.c, and push it. But it's gonna take a lot of time, about 400 seconds. So I mean, so it is so you have to wait that much amount of time for the auto grader to complete, and then it will tell that your solution, I mean, everybody, all the passengers have reached their desired destination, but it has taken 400 seconds and your score is 0, right? So if you want to get 100, your program should end within 10 seconds. Okay. So, and then I think for the 74 points, I have set it to 20 seconds or something. Okay, so yeah, and then like if it takes a lot of time, so it starts like you'll get a 5, you get 10, you get 25, you get 50, you get 75, and then 100. Okay, so yeah, so it is, you will require multiple iterations. So autograder is not for your compilation or whether to see whether it is working fine or not. You should do it on your own system. So homework 5 also does this testing, right? Like whether you're violating any rules that I told at the beginning of this video. So if none of the rules are violated, then only your time will be checked. Otherwise, you'll directly get 0. Okay. Uh, yeah, I mean that's all. In the on the Mondays lab, you can ask me any doubt if you have regarding the homework 5, and we will again, um, what should we do in homework Mondays lab? I think, yeah, it looks like a good idea. So we will again look at the template code, and I mean, there will be certain of credit scope question based on the template code for the homework 5. And then we will talk a little bit more about the structures that you have to get into the homework 5.c. They are very much same as they are in the main.c, but you obviously need some modifications. So let us see what we can cover, right? Like, and if you have doubts regarding conditional variable, you can also ask them to TAs on the Monday. Okay. So that's it from my side today. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.